So welcome everyone. Again, my name is Dave Kirby, and this is my co-host, Sean Domi. Thanks for joining us for a day in the life of a successful voiceover artist with Chloe Taylor. Hi, Chloe.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here with us today.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we're gonna ask Chloe a few questions about kind of her background, how she got started. We do have again the Q&A panel. So again, we make sure that this is for everybody. So if you have questions that you'd like answered, we'll get to those after we kind of get through our questions. Again, if we don't get to it, I do apologize. We've got an hour booked, but if we run out of time, feel free to email your account manager here at Voices. Any email correspondence you've gotten from us, that's how you know who your account manager will be, and we'll be sure that we pass along the questions. So to get us started, again, we're just going to ask Chloe a little bit about her background. So Chloe, to kind of give everybody a little bit of a head start on where you're at. I mean, you're a full-time voice actor, you're a screen actor, a singer-songwriter, a character voice actor. I mean, and you've done a lot of big things. Like you've done national, international projects for Google, Skype, Ben and Jerry's. You've had songs on Showtime's Nurse Jackie, and in Sony PlayStation's new game Until Dawn. Screen parts in multiple indie films in the series Salem, a singer-songwriter that you've performed your songs on tons of stages, spent a lot of time in your home studio making recordings, bringing scripts to life, and not to mention, of course, also that you have a BA of psychology and Master of Social Work. You've been with Voices since 2015 now and have over 75-star reviews. Did I pretty much cover it?
Killer. I didn't know I had that many star reviews. Awesome.
It's quite a portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm like this really super busy person that's just constantly doing something, and that's not really what my life looks like, but yeah, I mean, I do get to do all those things, and it's a fun life. It's definitely a fun life.
Awesome. Well, I know we kind of went over what you did in the past, but what did you do before you started into voiceovers?
I did a lot of different things. I'm just thinking of my first pizza selling job at Little Caesars Pizza, but that was a long time ago. So I was a social worker for a long time, and then but I was also gigging. I was singing jazz, and I was like out gigging like 5 nights a week, and so at some point I just hit critical mass and just stepped over into just doing art. So it was like. And that was like 15 years ago, and then I was able to just sing, and I sang for a long time, and then somebody kind of at one of the agencies here in Asheville said, "Hey, we're trying to kind of change over from the old school of those old school announcers, like they still sound great, but they were sort of looking for." Somebody who sounds like a real person and wants to deliver, something scripts as a story. And he said, "Hey, would you like to actually, check this out?" And I didn't even know what voiceover was. And so he was like, "Well, here's what it is," and like stuck me behind a microphone, and then actually gave me some training. So I just super lucked out. But that's what I was doing immediately prior, was just singing, just all singing.
Very cool. So
performing.
That coach, he was a coach, a voiceover coach that kind of introduced you? Or?
He was like an engineer actually at one of the studios. Yeah, but he was a fantastic coach. So yes, I would call him a coach too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what was the journey after that like? So once you kind of did a couple projects?
Well, right. So I did, they put me on, some really, they were, I think, trying to build their trust in me, and, I was still checking them out. So they put me on little bit parts. So they'd be like I remember one time driving there, it was like 40-minute drive, and, to say the word velocity. Like I was pretending to, like I was a science student, and I had to go, velocity, 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 a million times, and then just drive back home. So there were a lot of parts like that, little tiny paying parts, and then I still didn't know about voiceover. I was just like, what is this? I didn't understand the field. Nobody I knew was in it, and so I think I didn't pursue it too hard at first, and I was singing and traveled, like I was touring the country, and I was like not, in a place where I could just do voiceover, And then slowly I began to realize that this was actually not just something that, I was making a little bit of money at when I started, but it was also something that I was deeply enjoying, like having not just fun with, but like I was learning more about me, like trying on all these different stories from all these different perspectives and having to really step into, as I got better, somebody at that actually at the same studio that kind of found me in the first place, the owner of the studio said, basically I just approach a script like as if I wrote it. And that was huge for me. It was something I hadn't really considered before. And I was like, oh, it's just like I'm the one that wrote this. And so the whole journey after that was just like, how can I be more this person who wrote this script? And so it just became this it just became, I get to try on these people's personas, these people's message. And so it's like such an exercise in empathy and an exercise in learning about me, because I kind of compare and contrast what resonates with me and what doesn't about the script. So yeah, speaking of journey, like it's been a real deep one, like a spiritual one kind of.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So as a jazz singer, did you feel like a lot of that goes into your voiceover work, or
That's an interesting question. Probably so, because jazz is really improvisatory. You have to learn to. One thing that happens in jazz is that someone has an idea and they start to play it, and it's like the rules of improv comedy. It's like yes and. You don't contradict what someone just threw at you musically. You take it and you run with it and you morph it into your thing, but you never just go like, nope, that's not happening, and kind of try to squelch it. You're such a team. And so that's how a voiceover session really kind of works, is you're kind of going, all right, here's the script, here's the thing I looked at and studied, and then here's this person that's going to come in and just slice and dice it and tell me all these different things I need to do with it. So yeah, I have between that and just voice tones, and I get to play with pitch with voiceover a lot. So yeah, I think it really comes into play.
Cool. So speaking of training as well, you took 4 years of acting school at the Screen Artist Co-op. Do you feel like that experience plays a role in like booking work for you?
A huge one. I went to acting school after I had already started in voiceover. So I was probably doing voiceover for 4 years or so before I went to acting school. The difference between me as a voice talent before acting school and me after, huge, just huge, because my teacher was amazing, and he said, he just didn't accept us being fake. He would like if we would do something that just didn't feel like a genuine person coming across on the screen, if it wasn't really filtered through me as a human being, he'd just be like, I don't believe you, So then with voiceover, then the script would be in front of me and I'd be like, oh, this is printed on paper, but look how human it can be. And I just started to like run with it. And it was so much more fun too, because it just made everything like totally alive in sessions. It wasn't like, oh, how close can I come to sort of faking my way through this and be like this character that does commercials? It was like, how human can I be?
And so do you still work with a coach currently, or that was?
Not specifically, but I do hire coaching when I kind of need to. Like as I was going more into character voicing, I worked with a guy in New York City who has worked with you guys, Bruce Cronenberg. I actually met him at a voices.com conference, and he was teaching a workshop there, and I thought he was great. I loved his approach, and so I kind of did some Skype coaching with him, and he was fantastic, and just really helped me push the characters, and it's all just this matter of like peeling off my own barriers to like, how kids just like yell out anything, like they just don't have filters, and then like as we grow up we get all these filters. Like the cool thing about voiceover is that you get to just like, it's just about peeling away the filters, or acting of any kind, is you just like, you get to really be the real version of that thing. So if you're an evil queen, you're like super evil. And if you're a, like a fairy princess, then you're super, you can just like go into the magic of it and just have fun with it. So yeah, he was great.
Well, and that's the thing too, when someone is as successful as you've been, and to still be accepting of coaching and some extra training and guidance, I mean, that's what just keeps you getting better and better. I mean, like Tom Brady still practices. I mean, how would you describe your sound?
I feel like I'm terrible at that. But I think I've always been called by other people, conversational, real person. That's mostly, that's a lot of what I deliver. It's not character voices, but me voice, some version of me voice. And I tend to be sort of nurturing and helpful. Maybe I'm like raspy toned. Some people call it vocal fry. I feel like that's the derogatory version of just saying raspy, because raspy sounds way cooler. But kind of hip, I don't know. That's what people have said. I'll take it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Now you've got some big names under your belt as far as work that you've done. I mean, we did touch on a few of them at the beginning, but in addition to that, you've done projects for Under Armour, IBM, Barbie. What's the best job that you've ever booked? Your favorite?
Well, I think my favorite job I've booked is this really beautiful animated piece for Greenpeace, and it was sort of a thing about democracy. The animation was so incredibly beautiful, and the way they mixed the sound, and it's just, sometimes the production of the whole thing makes you love it more, because you can put out your best possible work, but then on the other end of it, it might just kind of it might just kind of fall flat, or you can do something and it just gets amplified to this whole new level. And it's on my website. It's just a beautiful animation. And
I heard the audio of that. You've got it listed as one of the demos on your profile. And I would encourage anybody that right now to go and take a listen. If you search up, Chloe Taylor and listen to her demos, I think that's the first one that you've got listed. And you're right. Yeah. It really does resonate. It was really well done.
It's the one that starts, "Let's talk about ecosystems." Yeah. No, not the kind from science class. And there's little beakers and stuff. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you remember offhand? I mean, you've been with us a few years now. Do you remember what the first job was that you booked with Voices?
It's funny. I looked that up the other day because I thought you were going to ask me that question, and then I forgot again what it was. I'm terrible at remembering things like this. I don't even know what it is, but I do remember when I first started at Voices. I wasn't getting anything, nothing was coming into the bin of for auditions, or nothing that seemed appropriate for me. And I was like, I don't know about this site. I don't really think that it's it makes any sense. And so I wrote to customer support, and they wrote me back. And this is probably 2 months in. I had just been slack about it or not. I was just I didn't quite know whether I wanted to, work with an online thing, because I'd worked with some brick and mortar agencies. And so the customer support wrote me back, and they were like, you have male checked as your gender. So they were giving me all these male auditions, and occasionally they would just, a client would type it in wrong or something, and so I'd get one that was appropriate for me. But I was like, God, there are really not that many auditions up here. So then immediately I started getting 1 million, and it was great. Can you guys hear the thunder here? I actually have this door open a little for ventilation, and it's thunder. I live in a temperate rainforest here in Asheville, North Carolina, right. And it's crazy thundering right now.
Is it? Yeah.
No,
yeah. So it's some bed tracks.
Just so you know, it's not like a background ambient studio thing I've got going on.
Yeah. No, it's not.
Would be
it's not
awesome
coming through.
For the evil queen.
Now, do you remember you'd mentioned what your favorite job was you booked? Do you remember what your favorite that you booked on Voices is?
Let's see. Oh, there've been so many good ones. I think there was one, it was about the human migration patterns in the world. The way that people migrate across the world. It was just sort of stating, it was an animated video. Those are my favorites, are just animated videos, not necessarily cartoons, although I love those too, but like animated explainers that are just really creatively done, artfully done. And this one had to do with the way people migrate across the planet, and the fact that it just sort of is happening. And so what are we going to do about our borders? Like how are we going to deal with our borders? It was sort of like, let's stop denying that people actually move about the world, and let's just go, like, it just raised that question. And I found it really great to be part of that, that anything that asks really great human questions.
Yeah.
I want to be part of that. And I think that's one of the coolest things about voiceover is, as we move into this new technological age, we are, voiceover is the deliverer of everything that's new, everything that's informational, everything that's a story. I mean, it's just so, there's so much I get to do as a helper to deliver cool information to people.
I think that's got to be one of the reasons why you do so well at this, because it's a lot easier to convey the message if you feel the depth to it yourself,
Yeah.
like inside yourself.
Right, which is how I teach. I mean, it's just because why would you want to sit in front of it? Like, I'm sitting in this isolated booth with no sunlight coming in, I'm like, which has its own amazing, it's dead quiet. That's also really cool. Like, if I turn off the lights in here, I'm basically in a sensory depravation chamber. I mean, it's super great. It's the weirdest thing that you can do in your own house, but it's like, what was I just talking about? I lose my train of thought. This is why voiceover is good for me, because the projects are short and then it's done.
And it's all on paper.
It is all in paper, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just, I sit in here and, like, why would you want to spend your time staring at a computer screen, just talking about stuff, like, unless you care about it, I mean, it takes some, and you spend money on the equipment and all this stuff, and it's like, you want to love it.
Yeah.
And I do. I love it.
Awesome. So you've been working with us since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to take the step to start auditioning on the platform, upgrade your membership to premium and get that access? Like, what made you decide to go that route?
I think I probably had just heard enough people say, yeah. I mean, I did a lot of Google searching, because I'm pretty skeptical at first of certain things if I don't know much about them. And there's a lot of in the industry, there's some sentiment, everyone's got an opinion about how this should be done, like whether we should be doing this stuff through agencies or whether online sites are fair on all sides and all this kind of thing. And honestly, I think I just wanted to experiment and determine for myself what I thought about it, rather than just, there are just so many opinions out there that I thought, well, I'll just have my own. I'll have my own. So I was like, I'll try it for a year. That's what I thought at first. And then I signed on for another year because I loved it.
Amazing. Did you learn the whole process yourself, or did you use online resources to kind of help you learn the platform? What did you find most useful to kind of find the website? At the beginning of me being in voiceover, I really had very little interaction with other voice talent. I didn't get involved in, I didn't go to any workshops, conferences, anything like that. I'm kind of DIY. I like to get in there and learn things on my own. So I did a lot of Google searching and just playing around on the site. And again, messing up, putting the wrong gender in the thing. I just didn't have my profile filled out correctly. And now I understand that there's so much more I can do with the profile itself so that algorithm can find me and so that clients can find me. And I'm just much better at it. But it's taken some time to massage that all and get that down to kind of a science. But yeah, I think I just kind of explored it on my own. Cool. And what was it like when you first started auditioning?
You wonder if you're just calling out to a vast empty wilderness. You just wonder if there's ever going to be a call back to you. And then there is. And then you go, oh, okay, well then somebody's listening. And at first, I don't look anymore at there's the whole green little column beside auditions you've done that say whether somebody's listened or gave it a thumbs up, or I think there's like 3 things. And I didn't, at first I would look at those things because I just wanted to know, is there any activity happening? You know, are people listening to what I'm doing? And now I don't listen to them, or I don't look at it at all, because I'd prefer not to know. You know, I just want to know if I'm hired, and if not, I'm moving on. Like I'm ready for the next thing. And so yeah, I felt like it was scary. But also everything else I've done in voiceover is kind of like that too. You know, I just knew it took a minute. It takes a minute. It takes a second. It takes a second for me to learn how to, you know, kind of get in the rhythm of auditioning. And you know, as with everything in life, if I can just wax spiritual for a moment here, like the more relaxed and comfortable you are with any process, the better your results are going to be. Like just spiritually, something happens through the ether that, you know, the site's like, yeah, she's ready now. Like things start coming back to you, you know.
Well, and it's human nature too. Like you said, you know, you wonder like, okay, I'm putting all of these auditions out. Am I getting heard? Am I wasting my time? You know, and even when you see the ones that are getting listened to and you don't hear back, you know, there's, you know, early on, I think in a career, you think, you know, am I doing something wrong? Why am I not getting the desired results? And
yeah.
I think you could probably attest to this, that the majority of what you audition for just isn't going to come out.
Like, you're not going to get the job? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just know that I'm not going to, like, I just assume I'm not going to get the job. Yeah. But I also know, like, there's this sense I'm developing now as I'm reading the auditions. Like, I talk to myself a lot. I feel like people that are in studios, I don't know if you guys do it, but I talk to myself a lot. And there goes the thunder and the rain. And sometimes I'll finish something and I'll be like, Chloe, yeah, that was the one. and I can feel it when I kind of hit it. Like when I feel like it was fun for me, and I know it's going to be fun for the other person to listen to, even if I'm not their right kind of voice, even if like they're putting it out to males and females and all kinds of different ages and everything. But I know that it's going to make some sort of like, it's going to move the needle. You know, it's going to do something because it just feels like it has some good energy to it. You know, so I'm starting to develop that. But the bottom line is I can't get attached. Yep. You know, I don't look back to see if someone has watched my audition or listened to my audition. You know, I just move ahead.
You can't get discouraged. It's, you know, you do it and you submit it and you forget about it.
And you do it because you're getting better doing it. You do it for the craft of doing it. You're not, I mean, yes, everybody wants a paycheck, and that's the bottom line, I suppose, but it's that comes from a different place, I think. It doesn't come from babysitting or like making sure that your website looks better than it did before, or whatever it is that, you know, you're trying to do externally to make this happen. Like your process, like that's all they're doing. Like I went to the Voices conference, and you guys showed us how the client listens to the auditions. And that was really valuable because it was just like play, you know, and all these voice talent are just right next to each other. And that's all they're getting is just hearing the voice. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's the voice. It's the voice. It's the voice. It's the delivery. It's the character coming out there. And yeah, if that's not connecting, it doesn't matter what you do. Mm-hmm. So auditioning is good because you get better, you know?
100%. And
yeah,
what would you tell yourself back then? Like, if you knew what you knew now back then, what would you tell yourself?
Relax. Just relax and do the work. Enjoy. That's what I would tell myself.
Great. That's great too.
Yeah, about anything in my life, basically, but but definitely this. Yeah, like don't worry. Like, well, because you don't know. Like, it costs like $400 a year to be on Voices, and you think that just seems like a lot of money, and then you like get a job and that's, you've already paid for it, you know, or sometimes. So it's like, it's, you know, it's not about like, oh, I'm stressed because I'm gonna be, you know, out of money. Like if you're doing great work, I think the work, you know, you get the jobs.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's
better and better.
I always equate it to, it's like a carpenter. I mean, if you want to be a carpenter, you need to buy a saw, you need to buy a hammer, you need to get a tool belt and whatever else. And that's the, you know, the thing about a site like this is it's another tool in your toolbox to be able to help, you know, get you those jobs that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, again, like that are watching the webinar, they are new to the industry, they're new to the site. They might not even really know where to get started as far as equipment goes. Let's talk equipment. Now, you'd mentioned that you got a pretty nice microphone there.
I do. I love this microphone. I didn't start out with this microphone, but I now have a Neumann TLM 103, which is it was standard in the brick and mortar studio that I was working with. That was what they used in all their booths, and I loved it. And I wanted my booth to sound that good, so
Yeah.
so I got that. But at first, I think I had a Rode NTK. That was the first one I used for voiceover.
Do you remember ballpark what that went for?
Well, I got it on eBay used, which I also got this one used. I got it for maybe, I think it was like $500. It was like half of what this one is.
Right.
And it sounded great. I think the challenge is, you can start off with a different kind of microphone, but this one's just like really worry free. It's kind of like I don't have to worry about that little bassy part where I kind of have to move to a different place to just get it to sound just right. Like it just like at this point in my career, anything that I add to my studio is just because it makes my life easier. It makes my workflow just real easy, and I don't have to like go back and go, oh, I'm going to retake that because it kind of popped on this microphone or whatever, But so now I have like a really nice booth that I pay a lot of money for, but I didn't have that in the beginning, and I didn't need it. Like you don't have to have that, It's just fun. It's fun. It's like being a golfer or a skier or something. You just like keep getting nicer equipment.
Exactly. How did you decide, between when you got started, plus, obviously the Neumann now, which is the Cadillac of mics, how did you decide what to go with?
Oh, mic wise? I asked the engineers. Well, I know a bunch of musicians and studio engineers and stuff, and I just asked around and kind of took an average of that and Googled, and that was it. Yeah.
Okay. What about editing software? What do you use there?
I use Audacity. Free, downloadable, easy.
Yeah.
I use Pro Tools for other things, for layering vocals, but since with voiceover you're just doing one track, and so it's a much more lightweight program. So when I open it, it just opens immediately. It's just really light.
Absolutely, and if you can get a free download, then get comfortable with that, then absolutely. How did you find the learning process? Was it pretty user friendly to get started with?
With Audacity?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a big red button for record, and by trial and error, you can find out if it, if you push record again, does it keep recording from the same spot, or does it start a new track, or what does it do? You kind of learn it. And then now I'm getting all advanced because now it's like add silence here and, edit this out here. But at first if all you need to do is push record and record yourself, it's super straightforward.
And then obviously, you've got headphones. What kind of headphones are you using?
Something by Sennheiser.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
I think this would be more Sean's territory. He's being the audio engineer. He would have a better idea.
These were like $80 headphones, I think. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I've had them for 3 years, maybe.
Yeah, monitoring headphones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're over the ear. They're around the ear. What do you call that?
Around over the ear, yeah.
It's like, it doesn't sit on top of your ear. It like surrounds your ear, so it sort of cancels everything else out. And I like that. I like being real isolated.
For sure. I think it's important to be able to monitor yourself because, that's what you're sending over. You want an accurate reflection of how you're recording yourself, how the program's going to sound. So
yeah,
having a good monitoring setup, I think, is important. What else do you use? You use a pop filter?
I do. I have one. I don't tend to. It blocks my copy. See how it just blocks everything? And there, I know people that use them, that have them on the mic. I just tend to now just place myself where I'm not gonna have. I'm generally voicing more like up here, and I just tend to angle correctly now. So I don't need to use it. But so I've got the pop filter, and I have my interface box, which the microphone plugs into, which makes the microphone talk to the computer, is a Focusrite Sapphire Pro 24 DSP. And though I've advised students, I think Focusrite also makes I think it's called a Focusrite Solo, and that's
Scarlet
working
Solo.
great. Or Scarlet Solo, yeah, and it's working great for some of my students. And I think it's only,
Like
I don't remember.
$100.
It's like
$100.
$100, and it's red. It's very cute.
Yeah, it's a
Mine's
great
just
little
black. It's not that, yeah, not that fun looking.
not pretty. Um,
Yeah.
so how about post processing? So once you record now, how much post editing do you do? Do you like clean up silence? Do you edit pops and clicks, or do you try to get that done while you're recording?
Kind of a little bit of both. I mean, I'd say like as I'm recording, if I catch something, sometimes I just get it right there. Especially if it's a long enough narration, I don't want to try to find it again going back. So I'll stop there and kind of pick it up, and then listen to the whole thing later and just comb it for stuff. I tend not to edit out breaths. I almost never do. I do when I'm making an edit and the breath just sounds funny in there. Like, I just can't get it to, then I'll edit out the breath altogether. I assume a lot of clients edit out my breaths after the fact, but they almost never ask me to do that. And I tend to not put that in my, my proposal, like that's something that I do, because it's kind of time consuming for one. And I think it sounds natural to breathe while you're talking. So, I can't know if a client cares about that or wants the breath in there or not, or
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I tend to, I don't want pops in there or clicks. That's no fun. So I don't like to send files that have those things in them.
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, for sure. Pops and clicks, I think, are the one thing that people listen to that as far as reverb, right? Breaths are kind of that you can get away with those, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you pick when you first started recording in your space? Like, what did you use? Use a walk-in closet? Did you build a booth right away? Like, where did you record yourself?
Well, actually, when I was going to the brick and mortar agency, I was going to their studio. So I was making the drive, and they've since gone virtual. So like everybody's got studios now, but I used just a little kind of station in a corner where it was like in a part of a basement where I would sort of put those thick U-Haul blankets up and make that work. And it was fine. It was just that I kind of had to dodge, like if a lawnmower went by or something. It wasn't ideal, but it definitely worked. And then I ended up building, like, once I was successful enough that I was like, okay, this thing has legs. Then I built a studio, and then now I have one made by Studio Bricks, this Spanish company that, because I'm in a new place, and it's cool because it comes apart. I could theoretically move it, even though it's 1,500 pounds. I could put it in the back of a U-Haul and take it to New York if I want to move there or something, So, yeah, but that's how I started. And in the interim, like when I was in between studios, I did the U-Haul blankets and, just set it all up like that. And it's just, the goal was just to get like a pretty dead sounding room.
Do you have anything for like for times that maybe where you're on the road? I mean, or is that, if you're traveling, is that, okay, I've taken a break from voiceover, or how do you handle that?
Well, it's hard, to be honest with you, it's hard to take a break from voiceover at this point because it's not something I feel like I need a vacation from. It's it's fun for me to do. It's, I feel like I'm missing out on money. I feel like I'm missing out on income when I'm gone. And so I like to keep up when I'm on the road or take like tinier vacations kind of thing, like make sure things fall on weekends or something. But I'll either find a studio in another city that has like a talent fee. Sometimes they'll let you do it for like $50 an hour. And I'll do a bunch of auditions in there, or I'll do whatever work I've got for that day. Or occasionally I will send in an audition that I just did on my phone or, on the laptop. And I'll say at the beginning of that thing, I'll say, this is not my usual studio, and I'm happy to get you a follow-up audition if you'd like another one from, a clean audition when I get back to my studio. I don't love to send them, send things that aren't professional sounding recordings, because I figure they just don't know what they're going to get. But I have gotten jobs this way. So
I was curious. I was going to ask, like, what have you found the success rate? Because I know that's what a number of people do if they are traveling, or if they're, something comes through the pipe that, that they want to audition for, but they know they're not going to be near a studio for a few hours. Like,
Yeah,
You
I
get
mean, interestingly, and I don't know if it's something like it stands out because it's so different and, because I'm talking to them at first. I don't know, but it was interesting because the first like 2 or 3 of those that I did, I got every one of those jobs. I was like, I just need to do all my auditions on a laptop. But I'm not sure what that is. But it definitely, like, there is something that happens when you're just on your laptop and you've got to hurry up in between this or that. Like, something like contributes to you being a bit more conversational. And I don't know. But it certainly has happened. And some of that time they've asked me for an actual clean audition. Yes, because we need to take this to the client now.
right.
We're listening and we like what you're doing, but we've got to convince this company. And so they'll have me do a clean one. And then other times they'll just they just said you're hired.
Now, have you ever, because obviously for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, when you get a job on the site or when you audition for a job on the site, it generally comes with a sample script from the client. Um, have you been in that situation, said, okay, you know what, I'll just submit maybe say one of the demos that I have listed on my profile, with that explanation that, hey, I realize this isn't your script that you provided, but this is from my studio. Here's what you can expect for sound quality, and I'll give you the actual read when I get home.
I think I've only done that when it says specifically that you can send in a demo, like just a generic demo. And the reason why is because I went to that conference and I saw, it's like if I'm a client and I'm just playing down the list and then just I hear like custom demo, generic demo. Like I may not take the time to look at the rest of the proposal that would explain what's going on with my submission.
Right.
I feel like that's the first thing they hear. So I tend to not like to do that. And I also just like to make contact. I like so as custom as I can get, like that's kind of what I want to do. I want to, like I'll talk to them at the beginning of the audition. I never talk at the beginning of auditions just to the client, unless I'm recording on some inferior thing. And I'll be like, as you can tell, I'm in a hotel room right now or whatever. And
I think that's what clients really love too. They get to hear exactly what you're going to sound like on their project before it's done. They get to hear many variations, and I think that's
actually, Sean, one of the jobs I got was really funny. I was up in New York and I was doing actually a job that I got on voices.com. This might be the coolest job I got on Voices. It was a live voiceover, which almost never happens, but it did. And it was for the voice of God, which is what they call those the people that are heard but not seen at award ceremonies. They're like in the back in the booth, right. And I was British, and I was like, they had me play this sort of robotic, they put reverb on my voice, and they had me sit up in this booth and do this thing. But anyway, so I was up there, and I was in a hotel, and I was going so fast. I was trying to do some auditions before I had to run off to this thing, and I accidentally, for some reason, read the company description instead of the sample script. Like I just read the whole wrong thing. And they wrote me back, and for whatever reason, they said, hey, we'd really love to use you for this job. Could you give us a read of the sample script because you actually read the wrong thing?
That's hilarious.
I don't, so occasionally just random things will happen like that. I know that I'm at this point doing this with some confidence, and like it took a minute for me to get to that place where I'm, auditioning with some like, there's some confidence behind it now, because the confidence is sort of like, you might not like this, but I do. And so you might pick somebody else or you might pick me, and I'm okay either way. And, I think that's a comforting thing to feel. Like when I've been in the position of picking people, hiring people for things, or like selecting talent for anything, like for acting or music or anything like that. Like I always want to work with people who are just kind of relaxed and feel good about what they're doing. So maybe that helps. I don't know.
It's a little bit of authenticity, like being yourself,
Yeah, that's I would say that's my main selling point, is just that, just being genuine.
Mm-hmm. So, you have a lot of demos up on your profile. I know, like in different categories, which is great. That's kind of what, it's a great thing to have on your profile. Like you have cartoons to AI to TV promos to educational. How many demos right now do you have on your profile?
See, those are the numbers I don't know. I mean, there's got to be 10, maybe?
I think
Yeah.
so.
There?
Yeah.
Is that about right?
I think
Yeah.
the last I looked, you had at least 10 of them.
Yeah. But I started out with, I probably started out with one, maybe two. And then as I did more work on the site, then I could, take pieces of that work and make demos out of those. And I started making them on my own. Like I made one with professionals, or I made a couple with professionals, but then I just was able to, now all I do is edit, voice all day. So it was easy enough to make.
So you do it yourself. Now all the ones that you put up there are done by yourself?
Yeah, or I'll edit something that someone has sent me the link to. They were like, oh, it turned out great. Here's the link to the final product. And so then I've got this great produced thing that I can just sort of fade in and fade out in Audacity, and then I've got a little piece of a demo.
How do you strategize what type of demos to put up and what kind of categories to put them in?
Well, I got a lot. Well, so I became a platinum member in the last year. So I took that step, and while in taking that step, I was able to ask a lot of questions about how to really flesh out that profile and get it really up to speed. And because I didn't know how you really want to have demos in each category, and there are some categories I think that are more popular than others, but having demos in all the categories was important. So even if I were to duplicate a demo and call it business and call it internet, for instance,
Yep.
Having just the label of business and the label of internet makes the algorithm find me more easily.
Right.
And that was stuff I didn't know. So I've tried to be really diverse and use as many of those, descriptors and keywords and adjectives as possible, so that, if someone's typing in, this is the kind of voice I want, I'm represented there. But I have to be careful too to only put the things that I can really pull off. Like I'm not going to put a demo up there of stuff that I can't really do. Like I'm not going to put me doing an Irish accent. I'm not that great at it, or me trying to do, I don't know, like a senior citizen or, I'm not going to pull that off.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we always encourage people to do, is fill out the profile as thoroughly and as accurately as you can, because you don't want, you want as many opportunities as you can get, but you don't want us sending you jobs, like you said, looking for an Irish accent. If you can't do an authentic Irish accent, you're just wasting your time at that point. You'd rather focus your time on things that you actually have a decent shot at earning.
Right. So. And so I have in there that I can do a British accent, because mine's not bad. I've traveled a lot and I've spent a lot of time in the UK. So that feels more real for me. But at the same time, if I know that, if I have to read the audition, because if it's or the post about it, because if it's not, if they're looking for someone who comes from Britain and or can represent a particular region, that's going to be tough for me to pull off authentically. So I'm not going to do that audition, because it's just not if I can't do it authentically, I'm not going to do it, Right. And so if it's like, there are certain things that work fine for me to be British. I was just a DJ on Radio Bonnaroo at Bonnaroo Music Festival as DJ Pink Dancer Delight, and she was wonderful because everyone there is in Manchester, Tennessee, and they're not gonna be critiquing and going like, oh, you sound like you're from Essex, but no, you actually sound like Liverpool. Nobody's worried about it. Yeah.
Now, do you ever, when you get a job, do you ever get permission from that particular client to use the work for your own,
Yes. Often I will say, I can't wait to see the final on this one. If you think about it, send me a link. I'd love to use it in my demo, or if that's okay with you. And
Right.
Then I know that if they sent me the demo, and then I even double check. I'll go,
Right.
so is this okay to use? Is this all right for me to post somewhere? I don't know if they're sending me something that's pre-run, like it hasn't been broadcast yet, or it's not up on the internet yet or something. So I always ask them if this is something that's fair game.
And it's great business practice too, because after they've done all the post-production too and just polished it right up, they sound fantastic. So
they did my demo for me. It's amazing. And they love it. I have the clients are just the nicest. I mean, I feel like they really are fun people. They're like you guys. I mean, they're just like, they like making cool sounds happen. And so if you can help them with that, and then they give you this thing, it's like, these are the only coworkers we have, are these people on the other end of our very quiet studios, and so you develop a bit of a relationship, and then you get repeat clients, and that's always really nice.
Definitely. So now that you are successful, kind of what is your typical day like?
Well, I used to I have hours that I designate to do voiceover. I work from 11 to 1 and 4 to 6 now. But I'm getting a lot more work now, and it's actually harder to shoehorn into all that, because I'm also still trying to do auditions. As some of those are privately targeted auditions, but they're still auditions, and so I'm trying to work in work and auditions and revisions and all kinds of things. So I'm actually so my typical day would be, I wake up and I take a walk. I love taking a walk on the Greenway here. It's just, Asheville's beautiful. The mountains are lovely. The weather's different. There's a different painting in the sky every day. And that's me not going right into the studio out of bed. That would just be bad, and to check my email immediately. So I just get this real nice, good walk in. I drink a ton of water. I eat some healthy smoothie kind of thing. And then I kind of start my voiceover day at about 11, and I check the emails, and I just kind of put it all in the queue. It's just like, okay, here's an audition I definitely want to do because it seems like it's most likely that I'll get it, or I just really like this. I just want to spend some time on this one. And then these are the jobs that I have said that I'm going to deliver. Here's a live session that I have. So it's just a matter of, it's almost like it's like I work in an emergency room. I'm like, it's like a triage situation.
And then, so how many auditions do you do in a day now? I know you're getting more work. What's kind of the average?
Well, the number of auditions now that I've done, and I've been doing voiceover for 12 years now. So at this point, I was doing, for a long time, I was doing about 10 auditions a day, I would say. But now I think I'm doing fewer, simply because I'm getting more private auditions, and so I just kind of go with, and I'm also working a lot more, so it's just a matter of time in the day. And I also play music and try to do some acting and stuff like that. So I have other things going on in my life, so it's just kind of limited by the amount of time I have designated for it. And I would say, I'm probably only doing, I probably do 4 auditions a day or so now during the week. I don't do anything on weekends unless somebody's got an urgent thing. And
now, do you find in the time that you've been on voices.com that you've been able to generate, a nice portfolio of repeat business?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know that's one of the things. Yeah, that's because I know that's one of the questions we get asked a lot is, okay, I'm a new talent and I'm going to be doing a lot of auditions, I realize, but is that always going to be the case? And you kind of touched on that, early on, that's what happened with you, but then it slowly evolved into now all sorts of repeat business.
Right. And it is a long game. Because, at first you're just doing these little bitty things, and maybe you're doing way too much work for, you develop your policies and practices, and you start to streamline your process. So it gets much quicker to do an audition. If I have an hour now, I can easily turn out 10 auditions. Easily. And, but at first, I'd spend the whole hour on that audition because I wasn't a fast editor, and I wasn't all this. And then the work I would get would be, small things, and then you start to get bigger things, and then you get your first repeat business, from a client, and then you've been doing it for 12 years, and you have a client that comes to you from 8 years ago wanting something, so it's definitely a long game, but I have noticed that it has continued to, rise and expand, and just slowly but surely. And I think it tends to really perk up, the more I love it, the more I'm really enjoying it, and getting in here and being a happy, the more I'm a happy, well cared for person, if I take care of my spirit and my energy, then I come in here ready to deliver and ready to be a conduit for the auditions that come to me and everything. And the less I'm worried about the less I have a lack mentality where I'm thinking, oh, I'm not gonna there's so many people auditioning for this. How could I be one of 74, that gets this? And then you just are. You just are, because you loved it the most that day.
Yeah.
And you made it and then that could be a huge client. This one job that you got could be a $200 job, and then they come back to you with an $800 job, and that happens once a month, and
yeah,
could be great.
Oh, exactly. I mean, there are a lot of clients on the site that use it, regularly. Some have a couple jobs a year, some have several a month. And if you were good to work with, the first time they hired you, a good chance they're going to come looking for you specifically,
right.
Moving on from there.
Right.
Now, I know we do only have an hour booked, and I feel bad we haven't gotten to some of the questions yet that have been coming in from people watching.
Oh, we should do that.
We've got a lot of people that are doing really well with the interaction, and we need to do our part now to get some of their questions asked.
Yeah.
One question: how many years did it take you to fully transition into voiceover?
Like making a full living, I assume. I'll answer that question. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by a full living. I think, as a musician, I was like, yeah, okay, $20,000 a year is about, American dollars a year is about, like, I can live on that, I mean, I'm going to say it probably took me 5 years, but that's because I started out moving really slowly with it, like I was touring and not spending that much time on it. Like there'd be days when I didn't do auditions at all. I was only working with that one agency for the first couple of years. So, yeah, I think it depends on how much time you put into it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's hard to answer.
So here's a question from Charlene here. Would you recommend new actors to focus on a niche, like finding their specialty, or just be a generalist and try doing a little bit of everything?
I recommend to my students that they actually find what they love and can connect with, and just kill it in that area. I know that's not what everybody recommends, but yeah, I do it with screen acting too. It's like I do this thing really well, and from that, once I do that really, really well, and I just know the ins and outs of it so well, I can use that niche as my way of learning the ropes in the whole trade, how to be a better editor, how to be a better, work better with my mic, how to work better with clients and my communication and my policies and all that stuff, and just getting all that really rolling, and just so you have this well-oiled machine, and then you just naturally begin to expand into other things. I think like explainers at first, I was like, I don't know if I could do an explainer. That didn't really feel like something that resonated with me. And now I do tons of them because I love them. But I just slowly kind of went, how about I do that? And only now am I really getting into character voices, even though I've done a bunch of acting and everything, because I had enough to deal with to try to digest all this other stuff. It's a long game. I mean,
totally. Yeah. And you never know what you're going to be good at. I mean, then
right.
You're right. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself right out of the gate.
Mm-mm.
We've seen people that say, "Oh, I don't think I could ever do audiobooks." You look at them a year later, and they get hired for audiobook after audiobook.
Yeah. And you have no idea. I did a meditation course. It was a 10-hour meditation course, and it's actually not something I normally do. I don't do really long. I don't do audiobooks or really long things because my attention span is kind of like, I like the project to sort of be done. Plus, the dollars per hour kind of works out, it can be much less bang for my buck to do a long project. So, but I took it on and did it, and I was like, at the end of that, I was just like, this just made me such a better voice actor. And I got to basically meditate for 10 hours. It's just like a really, yeah. And so who knew that was going to be something that I really enjoyed. I certainly didn't have a meditation demo. It wasn't something I set out to do.
Well, that kind of leads into this next question a little bit. What are some techniques you use to get out of your head before a session? Like, do you meditate before you start?
Well, I take that walk every morning, and I think that's huge. I think that's a really important thing. Like, if I've got something going on, like in my love life or in my, like just if I'm stressed out about something, if I'm walking around with like attached to something, like when those things that grind at you where you're like, you're just kind of seeing the glass half empty in your life. You're like, God, I wish I had more money, or I wish I had more. If you're like thinking in that way, I think you really, it's really difficult to come into the studio and have someone hand you whatever script, and just put it in your face and go like, okay, here's this thing, and just like it's hard to clear the pipes to be the conduit, to be the deliverer of that script, you know? And so yeah, I'm all about meditation. I go to therapy. I am a big believer in just the spiritual practices that keep me happy, that keep my well-being really strong. I eat well. I now take way better care of my, you're carrying around your instrument all day, every day. So if you're stressed, it sounds like it. If you're tired, it sounds like it, so you want to just really, you feel confident because you feel happy already. So there's no real need to kind of go like, all right, now I'm going to clear this and I'm going to do all this stuff. It's like you just walk around as a healthy person. That's my strategy.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of stuff to do, but it helps you in every area of your life. So why not?
Sure.
What's the first step that you'd advise a beginner to take in starting his or her career in the voiceover world?
The first step is I would talk to someone who's already doing it and like read scripts with them and be like, do I like reading scripts? Because yeah, there's the business stuff that you can do. There's the things you can do to build your booth and like how to get work on websites and everything. But you really want to know if the act of reading a script feels good to you. Does this feel like a practice that you want to do every day? Like I've had students come through my class and go, like by the end of it kind of go, I don't know if I thought this sounded like a cool thing, but I think they thought maybe it was going to be like, oh, this is a way I can make money at home. And it's like, I could do this, or I could do, some other online business or whatever. And it's just, hey, I can talk, I can read, but it's more than that. So I don't think it's for everybody. So I think that's what you got to figure out first as a beginner is like, will I enjoy this sustainably for a long time?
Right. Yeah. Chloe, you know what? We hate to do this because I think you've been so fantastic. I think we could do this for 3 hours. And
so could I. I love talking about this.
So basically what we're going to do, one last question for you.
Yeah.
What do you love the most about the voiceover industry?
About the industry? Me personally, that it's kind of the Wild West. I mean, I love that about it. I love that you can kind of, I love kind of setting my own rates and like letting the only limitations be me, because there's so many opportunities, so many places. That's what I like.
Fantastic. It's unfortunately it is all the time that we have today. I know you wanted to
yes.
get a plug in there. So what?
Can I do that?
Absolutely,
so two things. For one, I'm a musician and my music is at pinkmercury.com. That's my band, and it's I'm loving it right now. It's like the most wonderful thing I'm doing. So besides voiceover, which I also adore.
If you have any questions for her that we couldn't answer, send it to us. Respond through the emails that we sent you, and we'll be able to forward those to Chloe. And if we missed any of your questions, sorry we didn't get to them all, but please just email us and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. It was a real pleasure meeting you, Chloe, and having you here.
Thanks, you guys too. This was a blast.
I hope everyone enjoyed hearing Chloe's story as much as we did, and we'll see you next time.